Yeah, definitely. So hi everybody, 안녕하세요. My name is ANDRIX. I'm an artist for science, and I'm dedicated to bringing the best visuals and experience out of scientific content. So before I forget, I would like to thank Lumiflo a lot for having me today in this immersive studio. You've been welcoming me for 2 days. It was an intense and super good experience. Yeah, I'm very grateful for that. Yeah. I would like to thank as well the scientific community that hosted me at Yonsei for the Ramses user meeting, especially Tina Coleman, my partner with whom I wouldn't be here today. So yeah, thanks for that. And also the partner AUGMENTA for providing interactive solution that we will also demonstrate today with interactive visuals. Yeah, and also all the people who came here today. So today what I will propose to you is to see 3 different types of visuals. The first type of visuals will be purely artistic visuals that have been created in the past. The second type of visuals is created out of actual scientific simulation data from astrophysics. And the final part is a bit of both, but rendered interactive with the AUGMENTA technology. So before starting, I would state that this is highly exploration technology, and my computer has been going on through a lot of intense calculation in the recent days. It may crash. I think it won't, but it may. We'll just go with the flow. Yeah, so let's proceed with the 9 visuals. So as I said, the 3 first ones are purely artistic content. They've all been created with science context. So the first one here is inspired by the tree of life, the evolution of life from the last universal common ancestor that we have here at the center. It's represented by a sort of cube that is a bit of a rock, and then the 3 main kingdoms or domains, this is something that evolves, are sprouting out of the center. It was initially created for CNRS, a French institution in science, for a planetarium conference. And this is the introduction artistic visuals that people would see when entering the planetarium. Let's proceed to another visual here. So it's also related to science, of course, but this is more about creating visuals that, let me tweak the colors a bit. Better colors. So this is more about trying to sort of do some sculpture with mathematics. It's to find special models of behavior in 3D space so that all the objects behave in the way you want. So for instance here, the interest was to be to have particles rotate a certain axis. So it was to set up a specific force with equations to control all the particles. And then when you release these particles in the 3D space, X, Y, Z, you can see these rotation motion. So here, it's a pretty sensitive system, and it's one of those cases where it's just math for the sake of aesthetics. There's just the research, pure research of mathematics. And yeah, it's a rotational field, and then the parameters can be controlled live because you can parameterize these. And then this can also be made reactive to control via a tablet or via your body with AUGMENTA technologies. That's some of the things that are possible. I'm demonstrating a bit of the model here. We can increase the speed, for instance, very, very easily. And then this is a whole system that's going to have life on its own. Okay, let's move to a third visual, which is the following. It was also created in the context of a work for a planetarium. So it's a project that started 2 years ago about proposing scientists to be on stage and showcasing their work. And my mission there was to create the content and the scenario for this. So each time there would be an artistic object presented to the public when we enter the planetarium. And this one is about it's an artistic vision of the motion of a bumblebee in a field, because we were looking at plants and plants' DNA. So yeah, it has 2 states. It has one state of a certain color. This is When we enter the planetarium, the colors are like this. So it's more of a green field, something that we are used to, maybe with autumnish color on the side. And the final, so this is the visuals that we would see when we enter the planetarium. And once we have delivered the scientific content, people would go out with this, which is basically the same object with a different color range. And with also different music that was also inspired by the concept, the flight of the bumblebee per se, so the theme of the conference. This was a presentation of 3 artistic visuals, and now we will start to look into another type of visuals, which are scientific data. So the concept here is a bit different from before. Before it was a pure artistic invention, so I could use math for the sake of it to create some structures. Here, my position in the collaborations is a bit different. I'm just retrieving data from research, mostly simulation data, and then choosing colors and choosing a way to visualize them, parsing the format, and then starting to plot it into my 3D rendering system. Here, for instance, what you can see is one of the different astrophysical objects, and they have a variety of sizes in the universe. They can be very large to very small. This is one of the largest. It's cosmic filaments. It's data that was generated with the Ramses code that I mentioned earlier at Princeton University from James Sensory. So in all the scientific astrophysics visuals that you're going to see, what's happening here is that researchers, they try to simulate the evolution of the universe from the initial condition and then let the forces and the mechanics, the fluids have their own internal interactions to generate these structures. So this is one of the largest scales cosmic filaments that we can observe with probably some gravity, some fluid mechanics, some magnetic fields, etc. And then there's also a work from the artist here that's interesting is how do you filter the data? So the way you try to represent it, for instance, you want to see regions that are more dense, it will highlight different structures. So that's what's been here, because it's like you have a lot of material here in the studio, it fills the studio, but you only want to filter some of that data based on the mass or density or other physical variables to achieve a certain visual result. So this was the first visual. I will show you another one now. So this object was created in Korea here at Yonsei University by a PhD student, Kang Chon-soo. We're looking at an object that's smaller. It's still a very distant object, but we're looking at the dwarf galaxy. So this is a galaxy that is very small in size. The effort here was to not only put on the position of the elements, but also you can see some little lines that sort of move in space. It's actually a single snapshot, but we used the information of velocity to animate those little strokes so that they give a feeling of motion. So this is only one of the possible ways to see this object. It's seen from a distance. I know that there's more interesting things to see in the center, and this is a matter of data quality and resolution, and also choosing the filtering, the coloring, etc. So that could also, this is just a first very quick draft that was made earlier this month. This could be further investigated. Let's look at the third and final astrophysics object here. We're going to look at another scale yet, something that's even smaller, which is now a star cluster. Actually, it's a dwarf galaxy with a lot of star clusters. You can see 3 different types of objects. The first type in blue is gas. The second type in white, these little dots, are single stars. And the halos, they're star clusters, so a few thousand stars at the same time. This is one of those cases where we can sort of cheat as an artist because the data itself contains only one point, like the center of the cluster. But then we can artificially recreate thousands of stars. Like here, for instance, I only had positions of the centers, and then from that single position, I can put more particles around in a sphere to recreate the fact that it's a cluster and it has more stars. So maybe I can ask people to come here if they want to be inside. I don't know. So these visuals, they're not interactive. We're just inside. The interactive visuals will come right after. One of the challenges here was to get into a 3D environment and project on different surfaces. You can see there are 3 walls and 1 floor. and there was a digital connection to do between these environment in their 3D space and the actual surfaces of the studio. That was a very interesting challenge. And so for the purpose of this presentation, I had to choose certain angles and positions for objects, but what's interesting is also to explore them through. So for instance, I will quickly demonstrate to move this object in real time to show that it's also not a video that was recorded. So this is now the same object, but viewed from the outside. And it demonstrates the fact that it's sometimes interesting to have different points of view in the data. Okay, so now I will do a little manipulation here to restart the system and add some interactivity, some simple interactivity, and then some a bit more complex. So that's what we've been exploring also during these 2 days, interaction with a camera system developed by AUGMENTA. We're going to talk a bit about it. So now we have established a live connection between the objects here in the space and my 3D rendering system. This is done through the help of 2 AUGMENTA sensors that are in the ceiling and that detect the position of objects and their size as well. So with this technology that I have only just started to explore, there's a lot of information that you can get from objects in space. And what I've been using so far is 2 different ones. The first one is point clouds. It's a set of clouds that are associated to the position of the body. It evolves depending on what the network of cameras can see. And then from that information that is live streamed to the PC, we can, as artists, use it in various ways. So I can try to display a point cloud, an artistic vision of a point cloud. So this is an artistic representation. What the data we have is more raw and we have more dots. But then if we want to, my choice as an artist was to make it a bit more like an aura or something. So that's what you're seeing, and you can see it reacts to my position. This is one of the ways to use AUGMENTA. Another one is to get a bit more raw data from the position. So very simple coordinates in 3 directions, X, Y, and Z. And then you can use these very simple variables to play with your objects as an artist. So for this, I can maybe ask Tina to come over to the stage. So this is what you're seeing is an actual object made from astrophysical data. And the person who created this data is Tina Coleman here, researcher in France at Centre de Recherche Astrophysique de Lyon, CNRS. And she's been investigating a phenomenon of 2 stars, one star trying to form but being stripped by another. So what's happening here is this is a simulation. So there's a lot of data and a lot of frames to animate. And this is a simulation in volumetric rendering when there's gas everywhere. And you want to scan through this gas, like it's a room filled with smoke, and you want to see only the most dense regions. And what Tina is doing here when she's walking back and forth to the screen, she's scanning through those different densities. So she's exploring her own data. So what Tina was interested in highlighting is the situation where you can see clearly that there's 2 bodies, one star that is trying to form around another, but is being aspired and destroyed here. And that you can only see at specific values of the density. Yeah, thank you, Tina. All right, let's move on to a second object. So this one is a fairly big one in terms of computation. So it takes a lot of time to load. So here, what we are witnessing here is a sort of an explosion. It happens in a giant molecular cloud. And when the stars form, they sort of, if they explode, they push gas away. And sometimes they form, and then with the gravity, the gas is pushed away as well. So what we see here sort of looks like an explosion. So this is an animation that also comes from astrophysical data. It has 168 frames. So animation steps. So what is not represented here is that there's stars being formed in the process. So for this one, we've been trying something. It was something new. So maybe Maxime, if you want to come and here. So Maxime has been working on this. So what we tried to do is to map the speed at which the animation is played with the extension of the arms of Maxime. So when Maxime has his arms rested, the animation is sort of slow motion. We're skipping a few frames, and then when the arms are extended, we're playing it at full speed. So can we say you are a supernova? You are a supernovae? So for this, what's been used is not the position of the person, but the actual information about the bounding box. It's called a cluster. It's a solid that surrounds the body. And so here the expansion of the arms was just detected by just the width, the size of the box in one of the directions. Actually, it also works there, so there's two axes here. So that was a new interaction that was created this morning. So it was pretty quick to set up. Yeah, AUGMENTA information just comes, and then with a bit of coding here on my side, we can just map it to the objects that we're interested as artists, and it's pretty straightforward to do. So now we come to the final visual. It's a bit experimental. So it's not scientific data anymore. It's a system that is inspired by the field of mathematics. This is a system that it's called a dynamical system. It's a Lorentz attractor. It's a mathematical object that is related to trying to understand how the weather works. It's a very chaotic system. And that was one of the first simple models to give some ideas of chaos. It's very famous for chaos. And this system actually reacts to the presence of 3 people at the same time, because it's a system that works with 3 specific variables. So I would invite 2 people to join me here. So the interaction is pretty simple. It only reacts to the position in that axis. So we just only need to go back and forth or to stay in this direction. So this is live experimentation. I don't know what the system should look like. It's just being unveiled here. So what's happening here behind the scenes is a simple mathematical model, which is over here. So all the points here, they have dynamic positions, so X, Y, and Z coordinates. That's the one that are here. This is X, Y, and Z. And this is the time. So it moves with time. That's why you see an animation. When we come here to the stage, thank you, Kamsamida, for participating. We are actually being connected to this mathematical system through these variables. We call it variables. Sigma, rho, and beta. There are Greek letters. And they sort of determine the shape of the object. So one person was mapped to sigma, another person was mapped to rho, and the third person was mapped to beta. And I don't know who is who, but we discover it, and we see the result in the visuals that we have here. And so this is it for the mathematical visual. And let me try to put back the silhouette somewhere. I'll remove these mathematical equations. Thank you for making the effort to understand this. And yeah, if I could invite all the people here to come, and yeah, we'll see our silhouettes here to the back. So the AUGMENTA technology that's here has only 2 cameras, but I know that you can actually have a whole network of cameras to cover wider surfaces. Yeah, well, with that, thank you very much.